Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. What could possibly divert the eyes of the football world from the World Cup in Qatar? Well, it turns out it was a GOAT, arguably the greatest of all-time footballer and the globe's most supported club, well, possibly. Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United unintendedly joined forces to put the World Cup on hold on Tuesday with two huge announcements. First came this, a statement on the club's website that Ronaldo has left the club with immediate effect. And then the club's American owners, the Glazers, were also reported to be shipping out. This double whammy shocked fans around the world, including in South Africa.
As both a journalist and a Manchester United fan for many decades now, I've been watching the story closely. And yesterday, what should have been Saudi Arabia's big day where they beat World Cup favourites Argentina in a shocking result was overshadowed by two Manchester United stories, and many are claiming that the two are linked. So the first one was Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United announcing that he is parting the club by mutual agreement following an interview with Piers Morgan. The second was that the Glazers are considering selling the club. Now, people are making the link between the two events, and on social media that was definitely the case. So one of the antagonists, Piers Morgan, in typical fashion, said the man who interviewed Cristiano Ronaldo said, Ronaldo's interviews forced the Glazers to sell up. Incredible. It caught fans by surprise. Another big fan on Twitter took a similar view. Cantona and Best wrote, if Ronaldo hadn't given that interview and forced the Glazers to sack him, they would have clung on to Manchester United and continued to bleed us. If I'm looking for any good to come from that interview, this might be it. But Privilege MUFC disagrees. You must be naive if you think the Glazers just decided to a sale of a £5 billion asset because of the Ronaldo interview. You can't disregard years of fans' protests and attribute this to one man. This was in the pipeline. It's just a coincidence they announced it at the same day CR7 left. So yeah, I'm of the firm view that this is a good move for the club, but always a word of caution, be careful what you wish for. Sometimes it's better the devil you know than an unknown entity buying the club.
As Ghassan was saying, the big shock in Qatar on Tuesday was Saudi Arabia beating tournament favorites Argentina. The Middle East kingdom couldn't have been more delighted. It seems the entire nation was sent into raptures. Check out these guys. One even rips the door off. Fortunately, they have a day to recover. The kingdom announced a public holiday for Wednesday to continue the celebrations. One of the issues faced by fans going to any sporting event is transport to and from the games. The World Cup is no different, with hundreds of thousands of people trying to get from the hotel to the stadium and back again. Our team in Qatar has been working out the smoothest ways of getting to watch the footy.
Hey guys, today I want to show you how the transportation system here at the World Cup works, since the organizers are aiming to deliver the best accessible FIFA World Cup in history.
This train is for
Stadium Street.
There are 8 stadiums in and around the city of Doha, but how can fans access them? There are 3 main ways of transportation. The first one is taking the bus or a free shuttle, using the metro, or using a private car. And most importantly, there's an app called Hire. It gives you all the information that you need, and it tells you how to get to the stadium. If you are a ticket holder, then public transportation is completely for free here in Qatar. There are 3 main metro lines, the red, the green and the gold one, and they operate daily on match days until 3 AM, and the metro is also accessible for wheelchair users.
Welcome on board.
There are stadium-specific bus routes that take you all the way from the city to the tournament. If you are a non-ticket holder, you can buy a smart card. One thing is for sure, you will never get lost since there are a lot of signs and guides. Where's the train?
Violent protests have hit the world's biggest iPhone factory. Workers at the Foxconn plant in China clashed with riot police. Several people were injured and some workers say they were beaten by police.
往哪儿走？被骗过来。被富士康拉起来了多少？你们自己想一下。你觉得他们不帮着富士康？
What you're seeing now are visuals that some workers live stream online. Tensions have been simmering at the factory in the city of Zhengzhou for nearly a month now, as workers struggle living and working under strict restrictions meant to contain COVID-19 outbreaks. Tech journalists like Viola Zhou here report that the protests began on Tuesday night over fears of spreading infection and anger over unpaid bonuses, as well as the poor conditions staff had to endure. Clips of the violence quickly went viral online, and Chinese netizens were using the hashtag Foxconn riots on Weibo. That is, until Chinese government censors blocked people from using the hashtag and scrubbed all the videos from the social media platform. 200,000 employees work at the Zhengzhou factory, and frustrations are high over how officials and management at the plant have handled mounting infections. Due to strict lockdowns, garbage has been mounting at the facility. Workers also say they've had to endure food shortages and harsh quarantine rules.
It literally looks like the apocalypse has just begun in China right now. Eerie videos have been coming out of China today showing completely trashed and empty streets of the Foxconn factory residences. The factory was the world's largest iPhone manufacturer and was home to around 200,000 workers. But in a matter of weeks, that number's reportedly dropped by a staggering 40 to 50%. See, recently the factory was placed in lockdown, so in fears of being trapped at work, thousands of workers had to flee so quickly that they didn't even have time to bring their belongings with them. And what you're seeing is Foxconn are essentially now going into workers' apartments and throwing all of their belongings out of their windows because it's easier than just carrying it down the stairs.
And with conditions so poor, it's no surprise there's a shortage of staff at the world's biggest iPhone factory. And guess what? The government reportedly wants to fill gaps by hiring Communist Party members and veterans. The New York Times reports that Foxconn has posted up recruitment notices for party members across China's government-run social media pages, and it's offered bonuses if people start working ASAP. The Chinese government is desperate to avoid a strict virus policies from affecting factory output. And if you've got an iPhone on your Christmas wish lists, more bad news, unfortunately. Apple's forewarned that deliveries could be delayed as it struggles with output amid China's zero COVID-19 policy. Is the blue bird ready to soar again? Well, after sacking nearly 2/3 of Twitter's workforce, Elon Musk is finally done with the layoffs, and he's ready to hire. Hold your horses, though. Twitter doesn't have any vacancies listed on its website for now. Its new boss says Twitter is actively recruiting for its engineering and sales departments. Those who survived the mass layoffs are also encouraged to suggest people they know. Reports say the HR department is already reaching out to people and asking them to join Twitter 2.0 and Elon Company. Newcomers will be a part of a much smaller team, as the company had about 7,500 employees before Musk began his messy takeover. Now it has only less than half of that, but with jobs being cut left, right, and center in the tech industry, I suppose being employed is some relief, even if you have to put up with Musk's hardcore working hours. More bad news for Musk, though. His net worth has taken a hit of $100 billion. And it looks like it's one for the record books. No one has ever lost more money in a single year than he has in 2022. Does this mean Musk is the biggest loser in history? Well, let's see. The Tesla CEO's net worth took a nosedive this week to its lowest point, which is around $170 billion. But no need to feel sorry for him just yet. He's still the richest person on the planet, followed by fellow billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg. While this TikTok puts Musk's wealth into perspective for ordinary, non-billionaires like me.
If you were to take his money in $100 bills and stack it on top of each other, you could make 3 stacks that reach outer space. And you'd still have enough money left over to make 2 stacks that reach the peak of Mount Everest, because why not? Anyways, if you were to measure Elon Musk's money lengthwise, you can make over 1,119 laps around the entire Earth. Or if you prefer, over 116 stacks to the moon. Now, the average salary in the United States is $51,480, which takes Elon Musk a mere 2 minutes and 15 seconds to make. Elon Musk could buy every single NFL team, and then he'd have enough left over to buy every single NBA team, and then he'd have enough left over to buy the entire country of Angola. And he'd still be left with over 10 times the net worth of LeBron James.
But why and how did he lose that much? Well, it's all because of the massive decline in Tesla stock. The electric vehicle manufacturer's shares dropped by 59% year to date, wiping out $9 million of Musk's wealth in just one day. Tesla's revenue has been under pressure this year due to COVID-19 restrictions in China, soaring production costs, and the recall of 300,000 vehicles. Needless to say, a $56 billion lawsuit against Tesla and Musk's $44 billion Twitter deal have also played their part. Well, we're still following the FTX saga, and it keeps getting worse for CEO Sam Bankman-Fried and his investors. Prosecutors have said that he ran the crypto exchange like a personal fiefdom, and substantial amounts of money were spent on luxury items unrelated to FTX, including properties in the Bahamas. So how can crypto holders avoid another FTX disaster? Well, Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin has some advice he shared with Singapore's Straits Times.
This is like one of my criticisms of the Bitcoin community, for example, right? Is like they just automatically love everyone rich and powerful who supports Bitcoin, right? So if you remember the El Salvador situation last year, right? The president of El Salvador announced at a conference in Miami that there would be this Bitcoin law that would require people in El Salvador to use Bitcoin. And a lot of Bitcoin people just kind of ignored the fact that El Salvador was like, or at least Bukele's government was just like very not democratic government that actually has a lot of problems and is like actually not that good at respecting people's freedom, and they just kind of let themselves ignore that because look, a country is adopting Bitcoin, and a lot of them went up on stage with him and kind of helped promote El Salvador, but then what happened is like his entire thing was based on Bitcoin continuing to go up, and then Bitcoin ended up going down, and now it just looks terrible, and not many people are using it. Basically, just because the way the Bitcoin adoption was done was like very top-down and forced, it just ended up not being very sustainable. Like that's an example of like the kind of mistake that a cryptocurrency community could do to like enable that behavior.
All right, on to what's trending. To the dark side of the moon, where NASA's Artemis 1 mission has just emerged and sent back the kinds of images we haven't seen in generations. That's you, me, and the whole of human history and civilization on that pale blue dot rising above the moon's surface. NASA calls it Earthrise, and it was captured from the uncrewed Artemis 1 mission that's now following the moon on part of its orbit around our planet. On December 6th, it will slingshot itself around the moon's gravity well and back to splash down on Earth. Famous for his role as the indestructible Thor, in real life actor Chris Hemsworth has just discovered he's predisposed to suffer from a life-limiting disease. Genetic tests have shown that he'll likely suffer from Alzheimer's. The actor says he will now take a break from the big screen to spend more time with his family.
We did find a couple of things that are a cause for concern.
Right.
Some of the genetic testing that we did looked at a gene for a protein called ApoE. You have a very rare combination, which is you have 2 copies of ApoE4, a set from your mom and a set from your dad.
And what does that mean exactly?
That means you have an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease.
How much higher?
Probably somewhere between 8 and 10 times higher than that of someone in the general population.
So I have something unfortunate in common with Chris Hemsworth, who has famously played Thor in the Marvel movies. I actually have the same genetic predisposition that he does. And it's not like we're a tiny bit more likely to get Alzheimer's, because based on the current research, we're actually 28% chance to get Alzheimer's by age 75, whereas the normal population, it's around 3%. So we're about a 10 times higher risk. And then by age 85, it's about 50-50, whereas for the normal population, it's about 10%. And I can definitely understand how this news would shake Chris up a little bit. I mean, Alzheimer's can make you lose your memory, your thinking ability, make you forget who you are, who your family is. It's a devastating disease.
Fans were, of course, devastated to hear the news, but some were more concerned about Hemsworth's upcoming projects, like Marvel's Secret Wars or the 5th Thor movie, rather than the actor's well-being. You should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Chris Hemsworth is taking a break from acting. He has learned that he has a genetic predisposition to Alzheimer's disease. Knowing that he's at high risk, one fan is asking this question. A man's health is at risk and we're asking, is he gonna be in Secret Wars though? Wild times.
And with that, we've reached the end of today's newsfeed. Find this show on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you same time tomorrow.